In today's geography lesson, I'm going to be talking about cartographic skills or map skills. The four things I'm going to talk about are what is cartography, key elements of maps, different types of maps, and then I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of how to use digimap for schools. So, not cartographer, but cartographer. Cartography is the study and practice of compiling or drawing maps or charts. So cartographers are the people that do this. Traditionally, this was done with pen and paper. It's now done using computers and specialist software packages. And a little bit later on, I'll show you one software package that we can use, digimap for schools. There are certain conventions that all maps should have, and as geographers we should be aware of what makes a good map. So maps should have a scale bar, a north arrow, a title, a key or legend, and if they're in a larger document, some kind of caption. There are a large range of different maps, and these different maps each have a different purpose. So atlas maps, base maps, Ordnance Survey maps, proportional symbol maps, town centre plans, Choropleth maps, Isoline maps and weather maps. And I'm going to talk through each one of those quite briefly, and then for your independent work you're going to investigate each of them in a bit more detail. Like atlas maps, Ordnance Survey maps come at a range of scales as well. The most common ones that geographers use are 1 to 50,000 and 1 to 25,000. The map on the screen is a 1 to 25,000 map. And they always use the same colouring, the same symbols, no matter where in the country you're looking. Height is shown by spot heights and also by contour lines. Those are the orange lines you can see on the map. Atlas maps come in a variety of scales. Usually they show quite a large area, and they're useful for locating a particular study area. They could be a whole world map, map of a country, or map of a region. Base maps show a very limited amount of information. So you can see here a base map showing the county outlines of the United Kingdom. These base maps are really useful if you then want to add your own information on, because any map, if it's got too much information, can become crowded or confusing. So base maps provide a simple outline. Another type of map is proportional symbol maps. This map shows internet users in Europe. The larger the circle, the higher the number of internet users. On this map the symbol is a circle, but it can be done with any symbol. Choropleth Map is a map that uses colours to show the data. Usually and normally the colour is a colour ramp. So you can see on this map it goes from a yellow through to a red. So without even looking at the scale, you can roughly place each country's position in the map. We then have town centre plans. Now town centre plans are a very specific type of map. Usually they're known as GOAD maps or GOAD plans, G-O-A-D, and that's because they're made by one company. It's now owned by Experian, but they're referred to as GOAD plans. They're very useful for geographers if you want to see what kind of businesses are in certain places. And these have been made for over 100 years, so you can go to local record offices and archives and look at town centre plans for previous years, which allows you to look at comparisons of change over time. We then have Isoline maps. Isoline maps are maps using lines to connect areas that have the same quality. So in fact, they're very similar to contour lines, except for isolines can be used for anything. So these isolines in this map you can see connect areas of the same temperature. And our final type of map is weather map. Now this particular weather map is a synoptic chart which shows air pressure, and this is a very specific type of map for a very specific purpose. A few times today I've talked about map scale. If you're struggling with map scale, This part of the Ordnance Survey website has a really good explanation, and there's also a video explaining scale from a presenter on there. So have a look at that. And now I'm going to look at creating maps using digimap for schools. This is only one place that you can use to create maps. Others are Google Maps and also ArcGIS. ArcGIS is slightly more complicated when you're getting started, but that is the software that most professional cartographers would use. But today we're going to use digimap for schools. I'll show you now how to create a map using digimap for schools. The first thing you need to do is go to the Digimap for Schools website. This can be done by a Google search. It's important though you add the for schools bit, because there's also a separate digimap which is actually for universities, and our username and password won't work for that. So you then click login and type the username and password that's been provided. If you forget it, it's saved on MS Teams. Then you click login, and it will take a few minutes to load. Once it loads, it brings up an atlas map of the United Kingdom with some instructions on the left-hand side. If I would like to zoom into a place, I can type in a postcode, I can type in a place name, or I can zoom in on the right-hand side. And I can move around the map with my mouse, and I can zoom in and I can zoom out. As I zoom in, the closer I get, the map scale changes to become more appropriate to show me more detail. Depending on how fast your internet connection is, depends on how long it takes for each layer to load. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a map, and your task is to create a map using digimap for schools with at least 5 labels on. So you're going to go to an area that's appropriate for you. You can choose which area it is, and you're going to add some labels. You're going to do this using the drawing tools on the left-hand side. So if you click on the drawing tools, you then get an option to add markers. So I'm going to start off by adding a marker here on the school. Now, if I want to do anything to that marker, I have to go back, click select, and then reselect that figure. That then allows me to move it, if I wanted to move it, or to add a label. So I might add a label. Now on your map, you're going to add at least 5 labels. It's up to you if you use an area of real importance to you, or if you use an area that's fictional to you. It is up to you. Now, what's important to note is when you're working in digimap for schools, it isn't saved automatically. If you want to save your map, what you would need to do is click on the filing cabinet on the left-hand side, then click Save Map, and you would need to give it a title. So I might call it Mr. Ayres Map. And then it needs me to put my class name, so I'm going to put Year 12 Geography, and my name here. And then once I click Save, it is then saved. And you can see it's here. It's important to remember that any maps that you save can be viewed by anyone else, so don't include any personal information on that. Once I'm finished with my map, I need to export it so I can include it in my coursework if it was for coursework, or send it to my teacher if it's for homework. To do that, I click on the print box to generate a file for printing. I'm not actually going to print it out. I might call it my map. I'm going to enter my name. I then have to think about, do I want it as a PDF or do I want it as a JPEG? I'll probably keep it as a PDF. What paper size do I want? I'm going to keep it as A4. You then get a chance to see what will be included within your map area. That's the blue outline there. I'm going to choose, do I want the drawings? Those are my labels included. I'm also going to add the national grid lines on there. That makes it easier for me to get grid references. I then am going to click generate print file. It will take up to a minute to generate your print file. It depends how fast your internet connection is. And then you can see that it's downloaded a PDF. And this is my map, but you can see my title is there, my name is at the bottom, and you can see my labels on there. This PDF file can then be uploaded to MS Teams for your homework, or it can be included into coursework. So your tasks. Your first task is to complete the sheet that summarises the different types of maps. For each of those, you need to think about when it might be used, the advantages, the disadvantages, and find a sample image and copy and paste that into the table. There's an examination style question that you need to answer. You can answer this as a Word document. Bear in mind, this isn't from your exam board. This is actually from an old AS question. So the examination question style is slightly different, but it gives you a chance to think about what we're doing. And the final thing I'd like you to do is to use digimap for schools to create an annotated map. And there should be at least 5 annotations on that map. Okay, so a little bit like the one I created earlier in this video.